Welcome to this week's Forex Forecast. Make sure you let me know in the comments down below what pairs you're watching this week, and I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, starting things off with the US dollar index. The past week, the banks added 2,300 longs and they got rid of 561 short positions. Looking at the daily chart here in the dollar, we're coming up to daily supply at about 101.5, but I do think the US dollar's trend is way too strong to consider shorting right now, so I would just continue to be buying the US dollar on most pairs and just be cautious of the higher time frame supply that we are about to be contacting on the US dollar. Looking at the weekly chart here, we are about to contact this weekly supply zone / resistance area at about 102. So I think we still have a lot of profit margin to at least about 102 on the US dollar index chart. On to EURUSD. The past week, the institutions got rid of 642 longs and they added 7,000 short positions on the Euro chart. Looking at the daily time frame, clearly this downward trend is just continuing here, and we are contacting this daily area of demand. Now the euro has been looking very weak, but on a lot of the other pairs like euro yen, for example, it's been pretty strong against other pairs. And as you can see now, shout out to Rob, who caught a nice 2-to-1 off of one of my euro yen zones to the long side. And also shout out to Julius, who caught, I'm pretty sure it's the same zone, but just looked for 15-minute confirmation. So a lot of members using my zones to make a decent profit. So congrats to you guys. Just wanted to give a quick shout out, but also pointing out that euro charts are pretty strong on other pairs. So look, considering that, and we still have that weekly and daily downtrend, I would consider still looking for shorting opportunities. I do not see anything on the 4-hour chart here at all for any type of trade. And even on the 1-hour chart, there is a 1-hour area of supply right here, but I'm not a huge fan of this type of zone. It kind of wick through it. But if you wanted to look for 5-minute confirmation off of there, that's fine. And even off of this zone, if this one ends up failing or doesn't give that 5-minute confirmation. So still looking pretty decent here in the euro. I think we will continue to go down. But since we are contacting that daily area of demand, I think it's very possible that we continue to see an up move, maybe a little bit further up, and then eventually drop down to continue with that weekly downtrend on the Euro USD. On to gold, and in the private Discord group last week, I talked about how gold could see some downward pressure at this daily area of supply. This was beforehand, and the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you guys that I'm calling these things out beforehand, and I'm not just, after the fact showing this and that, but clearly a lot of downward pressure here on gold, and I warned the tier 2 Patreon and YouTube members about this zone that we could see gold with a little bit of downward pressure here, and it's actually pushed down a little deeper than I thought. If you want to join that private Discord group, links in the description. You can join the tier 2 group for only $10 CAD per month, and you can get private live streams, all that stuff, or you can just go with the $5 tier 1 and get all of my zones on a daily basis. So just wanted to direct you guys towards that. Like I said, links are in the description. Hope to see you guys join the team. So now looking at gold call reports, we have the banks that they got rid of 7,400 long positions and they added 7,000 short positions. So like I said, we reacted off that daily area of supply and we're coming down. If you do want to get in long, you would target about 1975 right before this daily area of supply, or a little higher at about 2,000. To the short side, I would target about 1880, maybe 1890. The reason I don't think we're going to see gold go too much lower is because we are sitting inside this weekly area of demand, or we're about to contact it again at least. So what I'm looking for in gold for longs is to wait for significant downward pressure to happen, upward pressure to start to form. And that'll look like something like this, where we get this downward trend line removed. So essentially you're just waiting for this confirmation and then possibly hopping in long like that. Although we are not sitting in daily area of demand, we are about to be contacting weekly demand. So it might actually be best to wait for 4-hour confirmation, but I'm just not seeing anything just yet. If you want to trade to the short side, I would at least wait for this 4-hour zone to be removed, and then maybe there's a zone there you can look to get in short, but not really seeing too much opportunities here on gold. Just going to have to be patient, but I do think that other markets are offering much better trading opportunities than gold. USD Japanese yen forecast. The past week, the banks got rid of 1,800 longs and they added 2,700 short positions. All signs are still pointing up on the USD yen. I've been talking about how I would just continue to be buying this pair the whole time. We could push down to this daily area of demand. And if you do want to get in short, I would target 127. To the long side, you could target maybe 130 or a little bit before 130. Now let's look for some potential long entry opportunities. Not really seeing anything just yet. If you look at a 4-hour chart, there are a few demand zones that you could look to get involved. If price pulls down to this 4-hour demand, I wouldn't take that as a set and forget, but I would look for confirmation in there or inside of this 4-hour area of demand. So both looking good for confirmation. If that doesn't end up happening and we push higher on USDN on the 4-hour chart, if price pushes up, you could be drawing a zone there possibly, or I will have it for the members, and you can look for 15-minute confirmation coming off of that. There is a 1-hour area of demand right here that's decent, but there's no trend here on the 1-hour chart, so I'm not really excited about taking trades, but you could wait for 5-minute confirmation if you'd like to enter on a 5-minute or a 1-minute chart in this area and potentially look for a long setup. But like I said, there's not really a trend here in place, although we did kind of break this range to the upside, so we could see the USDN move up from this 1-hour area of demand. But I think confirmation will be needed. And if you don't know what confirmation is, check out my tips playlist, my supply and demand tips playlist. I have a few confirmation trading videos in there that can certainly help you guys out. All right, looking at GBPUSD, the past week the banks added about 1,300 longs and they added 7,100 short positions. We have a very strong daily downtrend here. We just took out supply. If you do want to get in long, which I do not recommend, although it could work, you could target about 1.3 to the short side. You could target about 1.277 or even lower based on this strong daily downtrend. Now let's look for a few potential trading setups. Well, I do see a few opportunities here. If you look on a 4-hour chart, we have a flip zone right here, which I'm not going to get into too much, where we could see a move down from there. So you could definitely look for a 15-minute confirmation in this area. Or if this breaks and comes to this 4-hour zone, you could also look for 50-minute confirmation in there. I think both are completely fine. Now, as far as the day trading, like 5-minute, 1-minute charts, the only thing I see is a little 1-hour supply zone right here, where if price does end up pushing up on the pound, I think that this would be viewed as a great little pullback trading opportunity where you could look for a 5-minute confirmation coming off here. Technically, this is a potential set and forget trade where you just place a sell order there with a stop loss above. But I think looking for 5-minute confirmation in this situation is a little bit better based on the look of this zone, and I'm not a huge fan of it at all. But like I said, it's all good. If let's say you try to take a trade in this zone, let's say you lose this one, it ends up pushing up, but then it pushes up to that 4-hour area of supply I talked about. Well, you'll just be getting a better short position and potentially getting bigger profits if you continue to look for shorting opportunities. So this pair is actually looking great for potential shorting opportunities to continue trading with that daily downtrend and also this weekly this weekly downtrend. Alrighty, on to USDCAD. And in last week's forecast, I pointed out this 1-hour area of supply right here, and I mentioned you could be looking for confirmation coming off of this 1-hour zone. And look at the reaction we saw from here. What a move down, potentially giving 10-to-1 trading opportunity. So if you got involved there from last week's forecast, very good for you. Now it leaves us here with a clean couple 4-hour areas of demand. But first, let's look at the COT reports. The banks got rid of 2,700 longs and they added 6,300 short positions. Now, these 4-hour zones are definitely decent to look to get in long, but first let's look at a daily chart here to see what's going on. Well, we are coming off the lows here and we are simply sitting between supply and demand. We have supply right here and demand down here. Now we aren't about halfway through, that would be about halfway. And we are a little bit, we're almost 3/4 of the way there, but I think looking for longs is completely fine because I do think ultimately we are headed to this daily area of supply. So to get in long, you could target about 1.276 or a little bit higher at this daily supply. Short, I would target 1.24. Now, if you do want to get in long, what I would suggest to wait for is for one of these 4-hour demand zones to be hit. If this 4-hour demand is hit, you could definitely look for a 15-minute confirmation coming off of that. And if that one ends up failing, you could also look to get in long down here on a 15-minute chart. That's pretty much all I'm seeing. And for shorting opportunities, to put it very simple, I would not trade short until both of these zones are broken, leaving us with a clean supply zone to look to get involved to the short side with. But ultimately, this pair is looking pretty strong to the long side, at least on the 4-hour chart and on the daily chart. So any lower time frames, I think, are definitely decent trading opportunities for long setups. AUDUSD Aussie forecast. And in last week's forecast, I talked about how we could see this daily area of demand be removed, and it actually was. It was removed, I think, midweek or at least Tuesday. And if you look, I drew out this supply zone beforehand for the YouTube and Patreon members, just showing you the power of my zones by tracking all of them on a daily basis. Well, we had this demand removed, leaving us with this supply, and look at the down move from there. So congrats to any members who got involved in that area, but the Aussie is actually looking pretty weak right now, to be honest with you guys. So if you do want to get in short, which it might be a little late unless we get a pullback, I would target about 0.72. To the long side, I would target about 0.74. Now let's look for a few setups here on the Aussie, but first let's also look at the Aussie dollar COT reports. The banks got rid of 569 longs, and they also got rid of 447 short positions. Now, the only setup that I see that offers any potential is this little 1 hour area of supply right here. Technically, you could look for 5-minute confirmation off of here, but my experiences with zones like this after such a large move down, it's more likely that we will actually push up a little higher, where then we should probably be going to a 4-hour chart, although you could look to short this area here on a lower time frame confirmation. So not really sure what to do here on the Aussie, to be completely honest with you guys. I think waiting for a deeper push up like this, and then possibly, like I said, looking to get in short around here would actually be much better, since we're so low and all these candles are so red and falling so hard. I think we're bound for a pullback, although I do not recommend getting in long based on how strong this is. Although we are sitting in this decent area of weekly demand that broke this downward trend line. So we could end up seeing the Aussie push higher, but I would not be interested in buying the Aussie dollar until at least this 4-hour downward trend line is removed, and possibly this supply zone as well. So that'll probably be in the next couple forecasts if that ends up happening. So might want to stay away from the Aussie dollar for now and be very, very careful trading both long and short. USDCHF, the past week, the banks got rid of 1,200 longs and they added 1,258 short positions. If you do want to get in long, you could probably take profits now if you're already in long, or you could look to take profit at about 0.96. The short side, I would target about 0.95. This is a pretty interesting pair where we have a very clear daily uptrend and prices looking great. Although we are contacting daily supply, we could see price move down from this daily area of supply. And why I think that might happen is because if you look at a weekly chart here, you can clearly see we broke this supply zone. Very recently, it was also some sort of range like this too. So we could see that daily supply hold up here and push price back down to this weekly area of demand, where I think that would be a fantastic buying opportunity down here. I know that's more swing trading and a lot of you guys day trade. I'm just simply pointing this out and showing you the higher time frame dynamics that I'm seeing in play right now. So, as far as long opportunities go, there are a few zones. If you want to just continue to trade with that trend, you could take a look at this 4-hour area of demand right here, where you could look for 15-minute confirmation in there. And that's pretty much all I see right now. If you day trade like a 5-minute or a 1-minute chart, you could possibly look at this 1-hour area of demand below and maybe get in long on a 5-minute chart around this area. But like I said, we're about to contact that daily area of supply, and we could see a retracement down to weekly demand off of that daily supply. So I'd be very careful trading both ways right now. But ultimately, I would much rather just continue to trade with that, the daily 4-hour and 1-hour and even weekly uptrend. All right, last but not least, crude oil. The past week, the banks got rid of 356 longs and they got rid of 3,200 short positions. A little bit of a weird looking chart here. Looks like we want to come down for the third test of this daily area of demand. But ultimately, we're stuck between supply and demand. You can just continue to trade in that range if you really want. If you want to get in long, you can target $120 a barrel. If you do want to get in short, you could target about $95.50 a barrel. Not really seeing too many setups, to be completely honest with you guys. The only thing I would recommend if you do want to get in short on oil, if you think we're going to keep pushing lower, you could wait for this 4-hour area of supply to be hit and look for a short trade, although I'm not a huge fan of it. That's really the only thing I see for a potential short opportunity on a 15-minute confirmation. If you do want to get in long, you could wait for this 4-hour demand zone. That's a pretty nice and significant demand zone, and you can look for 15-minute confirmation in there to the long side. Ultimately, I think that going long around this area is a little better than trying to short up here. We're going to have to see how this one works out next week. Let me know in the comments down below if you're interested in trading oil. I'd be interested to see, what your guys' opinion is on oil. But that pretty much wraps it up for oil. Not seeing too much besides those little 4-hour areas of supply and demand. Hopefully you guys found this weekly Forex forecast helpful. If you did, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like and check out the Patreon or YouTube membership if you need help finding your supply and demand zones. It's only $5 CAD per month. Hope to see you guys there and hope to see you in the next video.